everybody, Gina DeLuca here. Okay, today I'm going to be trying something new. I saw MariaBrooksArt. She did a piece that had the biggest cells I've ever seen in my life, and I could not wrap my brain around it. But the concept was she did a swipe and then put some kind of oil concoction on it, you know, like if you were doing chameleon cells and drop the silicone on your paint and then it kind of blooms. But she did that and then she stretched it. Every time I've done that, I was basically trying to rescue a painting. Where I did a flip cup and there really wasn't anything very interesting happening, so I would put a drop of silicone or RainX or something that has, you know, a hydrophobic effect to create an artificial cell, or artificially created cell, I should say, as opposed to like my straight pours, which is just from the reactions between the paints. This is from an additive. So I'm not using the same technique or the same recipe or the same pouring medium, the same substrate. I am changing up a lot of things, but I want to test the concept of doing a flip cup puddle and then adding the silicone drops to it and letting those silicone cells spread and then stretching it to see what kind of cool effects I could possibly get from that. Maria Brooks was using Liquitex pouring medium. I am using Floetrol. I don't know if any of our paints are the same. I don't believe so. She was using, it was kind of like a paper type material. It wasn't paper, but it was something that was very flexible. It wasn't a canvas. And she was kind of pulling it over the edge of the table to stretch it. I'm going to be using a spinner. So I'm just kind of taking the basic idea and going in a completely different direction with it just to see what happens. That's what's happening today. So the colors I am using, I have Amsterdam Acrylics in Titanium White, Liquitex Basics in Phthalo Blue, Quinacridone Magenta, and the Cadmium Yellow Medium Hue. I like the way light hue looks with these colors, but Cadmium Yellow Light Hue will create cells on its own. That's not what I'm going for. I'm trying to make these artificial cells. So these paints have been mixed, 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol. That mixture is then thinned until I get the consistency that we are looking for. This is about a 3 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound on a mound, but it's not hanging around for too long. It's not just sitting on top there, but it is still making a nice even stream off of my stick. If your stream is not even, that means you have not mixed it enough, but that is what I am using today for my consistency. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you the exact paint brand, color, consistency, the recipe, the technique, all of the things that I cannot fit on a card. This is the picture of the painting in that video. This box here contains a tip for that particular technique, and here at the bottom, you have the color palette that was used in this painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. Use some of the colors, use all of the colors, mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. Okay, normally I lay down my base coat and then put my paints in my cup when I'm doing a straight pour, but for flip cups, I don't mind if they sit in the cup for a bit and the densities kind of do a little bit of their thing and you wind up with some cool things happening. So I'm going to start with my white at the bottom. The titanium white, that is going to be more dense than other paints, and when it lays on top, you can end up with some lacing. So if it's the first thing in the cup, that's going to be what ends up on top. Don't need a lot of that. I'm just covering the bottom of the cup, just barely covering it. Okay, so now there's a thing that I do. I want to create an entire rainbow with just these 3 colors. So in order to avoid making mud, I will do 2 colors and then white, and then 2 colors and then white. So I will start with the blue. I did check these consistencies before I put them in the cup. That is a good thing to do. So I'm going to put about 1/3 of what is in my cup because I'm going to have 3 layers of this to get all my color combinations. So blue, magenta, and then white. And then yellow, blue, and white. Oop, blue and then white. This is why it's good for me to talk out loud. And then magenta, yellow, white. And so this gives me a combination of all my colors touching. I do have some leftover paint there. That's okay. Okay. So now I'm going to lay down this base coat. I'm actually probably going to have to make more white. I did not account for how much white was going to be going in that cup. Okay, I just mixed up a bit more. I definitely want to make sure that I have enough paint for my puddle to slide around on. If I were using a color other than white for my background, I would cover my edges first because I wouldn't want any of that canvas to show through if the edges were thin. And anytime you are using silicone, it is a good idea to lay down a base coat so you don't wind up with those bald patches. If you're using silicone, say you're doing flip cups and then you wind up with little areas where it looks like you just see straight through to the canvas and the paint won't stick to it, that is because the silicone hit your canvas before the paint did. And so now the silicone is there and resisting the paint. So you want paint on your canvas before the silicone hits it. Let's make a mess, shall we? I'm just going to give this a quick flip. That's okay. It's all going to get stretched out and cool things are going to happen. Got got some bubbles popping there, or bubbles popping up. That was quite an aggressive flip. So I'm just going to lift this up and see what happens. And I'll give the corners a little love. They can always use a little extra. This is all going to get spun out anyway. Let me quickly pop some of these bubbles that I'm seeing. Okay, so as far as what kind of silicone oil, I don't know exactly what Maria Brooks is using. She said it's an oil mixture, so she may have come up with some kind of secret concoction. But I am going to be using some Hask Argan oil. I have found this to be easier to clean off than some other silicone type things. If I can find my little tool. And then I have a little skewer here. It's just a regular skewer. I have this other side that I kind of sand it down so it looks like one of those orange sticks. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it's a handy little thing. I'm just going to put a little drop of the silicone, or the Hask Argan oil. Yeah, it's just stuff to put in your hair. It's good for your hair too. So I'm just going to dip my skewer in that and see if I get a reaction. I will start near the center. And I don't know if that was enough on there, or maybe it's too thick, or maybe it's working. Try again, see what happens. Okay, we've got some stuff happening here. All right, maybe I'll try a couple more with that. Maybe I'll just test out a couple of different, because they all react differently. So how it reacts with Floetrol, like how this reacts with Floetrol will be different than how it reacts with Liquitex or Golden. They all kind of have different reactions. I can't remember what the combination was. I think it might have been RainX and Liquitex maybe, but it made flowers. Like, they looked like daisies with a center and petals. It was very interesting. Okay, so I'm getting some stuff happening here. So let's see, what else do I have around here? I have some OGX coconut milk. Let's see what that does. This is pretty heavy duty stuff. It's kind of a pain in the booty to clean, but let's see what it does. So I'll do 5 of that one. Okay, so there is some interesting stuff happening there. Let's try a little RainX. I'll just do a little squirt here. The RainX usually has some pretty cool effects. See, it's making flowers. So maybe it was RainX and Floetrol. I knew one of them made flowers. Oh, that's looking so cool. See how they hold up to stretching. And I'll throw in some more of these other silicones too, just to vary the shapes a little bit. And those flowers are so cool. Why don't I do that more often? I just love the flowers. I just think that is the coolest thing, how it has petals. I almost don't want to mess with this area, but I just feel like something cool could happen in there. Obviously, I like the flowers. So I probably don't have to come all the way out to these edges because this is really going to stretch. Another thing I can do is put some dots in between and get some smaller cells in there. It doesn't take a lot to get an effect happening. So what if I take some of the RainX and go inside one of these cells? We're experimenting here, y'all. Hope you don't mind coming along for the ride. Yeah, that's not coming out quite as cool. The RainX inside the silicone. That just kind of... It didn't add. Let's just say it nicely. It did not add to it. I'm gonna just put a few more of these flowers in. Okay, so I feel like there's enough going on here. I don't know how these flower structures will hold up to stretching. We're going to find out. I mean, some of them are very, very cool. All right, well, I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope that these flowers hold their shape somewhat so they still look flowery. All right, here we go. Now we're really gonna make a mess. Make sure I'm centered. So I want this to come this way more, so I'm gonna actually push this a little further to this direction. If you think of it like those merry-go-rounds, you know, the playground, when you sit in the middle, you know, you don't really feel like you're getting pulled, but when you sit on the end, you feel like you are orbiting the earth. So that's kind of the concept. That's centrifugal force. So let's give this a twirl. This does not have to be done fast. You can spin slowly. There is no need to whip this all over your walls. My paint never extends past my corners when I spin. These also make some pretty cool looking jellyfish. Interesting. Ideas, ideas. Okay. So now I kind of want this corner to get a little more spin. So I'm going to push it in that direction. Okay, I think we could use a little more juice. This has been sitting for a bit, so let's just give it a little extra wet paint to help pull it along. Okay, just repositioning. I want it to come this way a little more. So the reason I'm spinning instead of tilting is because it will help me to maintain these shapes a lot better than if I tilt it. Tilting will kind of distort them a little more, no matter how careful you are. This is going to give me the most even stretch. Okay, still trying to get these corners properly covered here. Going to come in this direction. There's still definitely enough paint to cover this. It's just a matter of being patient, y'all. But that's also what's going to give you the biggest cells, because that's going to give it the most stretch. I mean, these cells are gigantic. This is so cool. I might have a new obsession. Now I'm going to be trying all the different combinations with pouring mediums and different additives to see what makes the coolest things happen. So they have kind of lost some of their petals, some of them, but these look super jellyfishy right there. We'll see, you know, what they do as they sit. I have faith that I will cover this corner. Worst case scenario. Okay, I think one more spin and I'm going to call it done. That's it. I'm going to leave it alone. This came out super, super, super cool. These cells are gigantic. Look, it's like the size of my finger. Yeah, awesome. And that's just 3 colors. Touch up my little corners there. That's just 3 colors. Well, 3 colors and white. And you got a whole rainbow there. And I love how this side is like all of the warm colors and this is like the cooler colors. And man, I am not mad at this. I think with a little more experimenting, you know, I will harness its power and try to make some really cool things happen. But I'm going to clean up and I'm going to bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. Let's get in up close. Some really cool... I mean, these over here, really turn to the side so you can see. They totally look like jellyfish. They went from flowers to jellyfish. Very interesting cells though, with just the silicone. Lots of layers in there. Whole rainbow. Really cool. Well, I hope you learned something. I sure did. That was fun. So I'll probably be experimenting with this stuff a bit more. Guess my spinner's going to be getting some use again. So do check out the description box below for links to, I will put the link to the video that I saw that led me to do this. MariaBrooksArt. That will be in the description box. But also, you will find the link to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. Tips are greatly appreciated, but certainly not expected. You will find links to my affiliates. If you use the links provided, I will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. And there are also some coupon codes in the description box. You'll find the link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. Oh, I'm having so many ideas pop in my head right now. I may have just gotten very excited about painting again. So I love when that happens. Yeah. So do check out that description box. Oh, and the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Ask your questions. Get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. And that, I think, is going to be it for me for today. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.